Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Naja Lopez-Riley, and I am the Associate Director of the Friedman Center at William James College. It's my great pleasure to have been invited to talk with you today a bit about what is mental health and understanding stress, anxiety, and depression, and how to manage that. So to get us started on that, I'm going to share my screen with you, and I'm going to show you some slides that will help us do this. So one of the things that I want to mention to you is that when we talk about mental health, we're talking about large components that contribute to what our current state of mental health is. There's the biological part. So for example, how we're doing from a physical perspective, whether we have risk factors for mental illness in the family, whether we're struggling right now with other illnesses. From a social perspective, things that can impact our mental health include disruption in relationships, if we have big separations, if we're struggling with peers or with school. From a spiritual perspective, if we feel like we don't have a connection to something that gives us meaning or something that nourishes our soul, that can also impact mental health. And finally, from a psychological perspective, if we feel like we don't have strong coping skills or ways to really help us understand how we're feeling and how to manage that, that can also have a negative impact on our mental health. So when we talk about mental health, really, we're not talking about either things are all great or things are all bad. We're talking about a continuum. And at some point, we feel really healthy, we feel strong, we feel flexible, and sometimes, depending on circumstances and what's going on for us, we feel like things might be really hard. And at the extreme, we might feel like the symptoms that we are experiencing can get in the way of daily life. But what I want you to remember is that our goal in maintaining strong mental health and wellness is not to get completely rid of negative emotions and to only feel positive emotions. The goal is to really help us understand and learn how to manage different emotions. So as you might have experienced, when you're really feeling stressed out and you're feeling like there's a lot going on, you might notice that there are some things that start to get impacted. So maybe you have memory difficulties, maybe your short-term memory is not so great, maybe you have a hard time with attention and focusing, or maybe learning something new. Maybe it's really hard to make a decision. Be something as simple as where do we want to get lunch today? Sometimes we might feel like the quality of our relationships is impacted. Maybe there's more arguing or bickering or kind of short temper. You might feel it physically. You might feel headaches. You might feel really exhausted. And finally, in your performance and creativity, you might feel like, I'm just not like up to my usual self. And so what do we do, right? What do we do when all those things are going on for us? Well, the first thing is we need to identify it. We need to stop, slow down for a moment and say, how do I know when I'm feeling stressed? What's going on in my body? What's going on in my thoughts? And what's going on in my feelings that let me know I'm stressed? What kind of situation am I dealing with? Is this something that I can change? What problem solving can I have around that? And then what am I feeling? Like if you had to find a word to go with your feeling, other than just a general stress, what would it be? And the reason why that's really important is that if we're actually able to identify an emotion word to what we're feeling at the moment, that actually helps to bring down the intensity of that feeling. Then we can start to think about how can I respond? Who can I call upon that will build my safety net with me, right? Who are my trusted people and what resources can I access? Now, the important thing, you might hear a lot about, when you're stressed, you have to find some good coping skills. And yes, that's absolutely the truth. But let's define what good coping is versus bad coping, if you will. So active coping, or the good kind of coping, is when we're taking charge of the situation by either problem solving, talking to someone, actively doing something to manage how we're feeling. Passive coping is when we avoid the situation altogether. Let's say that there's a difficult conversation that you need to have with somebody and you just put it off and you avoid it. That's passive coping. Now, the thing about passive coping is that you'll feel better in the immediate moment, but it doesn't lead to good long-term results. Active coping is a little harder because you have to put forth effort and do something, but that leads to much better long-term results and longer lasting relief. The other things that's really important to sleep, eat, and get good exercise. Actually, disrupted sleeping can cause mood difficulties, so you want to make sure you're getting some good sleep. Even getting organized, cleaning things, cleaning your desk, cleaning your room, just knowing where things are and not feeling overwhelmed by physical space can be really helpful. Setting healthy boundaries. So maybe if you have a lot going on and people are asking you to take yet another thing on, maybe you say, well, I can't right now, but maybe for a little bit later. Taking breaks, talking with people, going outside, taking a walk, and of course, connecting with others. And I know that's been challenging during these times of physical distancing, but if you can connect with someone else, even by a phone call, quick text, connecting with someone really does promote a lot of stress relief. Some other things that you can do, slow down your breathing, actually taking really deep breaths. So for example, breathing in for a count of 4, holding it for 5, and exhaling it for a count of 7 can be really helpful. Muscle relaxation, starting at the top of your head all the way down to your toes is also really helpful and calming. Connecting with your surroundings. Sometimes when you're feeling really stressed, you feel like a bit frenetic. So sometimes when you stop and actually just take a look around, listen for the different sounds around you, notice who's there, really intentionally focus in the moment of what's going on can help bring down that sense of anxiety. An intense sensation, so something like really vigorous exercise for at least 15 minutes, running up and down stairs or jumping jacks, or maybe touching something that's really cold or eating something that's really spicy or really sour can also help you kind of calm down when you're feeling really kind of frenetic. And then getting absorbed in an activity that you like, whether that's reading, whether that's, being with a pet, or whether that's, drawing, anything that you really enjoy. So, we've been talking about stress so far, but sometimes we need to be careful that what we're labeling stress isn't something more. So I'd like to share with you what some of the symptoms of anxiety are. Now, if you look through this list and you notice that you have some of these symptoms, please don't make a self-diagnosis right away. What I would say is check off the ones that you are experiencing and then talk to a parent, a caretaker, a trusted adult, so that then you can figure out the next steps to get help. A lot of people feel anxiety in a physical way. So if you're getting a lot of headaches, a lot of stomach distress, if you're having a really hard time kind of concentrating, if you're feeling shaky, irritable, having a hard time sleeping, those can be symptoms of anxiety. Now, the other thing that we notice is that we have to pay attention to our changes in mood, right? So how is something like clinical depression different from stress? Well, with stress, we have feelings, our mood might kind of shift a little bit, right? It goes up and down a little bit, but it stays within a certain level. When we're talking about clinical depression, the dips in mood are way, way lower, and they last way longer, and they impact your functioning in lots of different ways. So if you're feeling like the dips that you're experiencing in your mood, and you're feeling perhaps some of these things, then it'll be important to reach out and get help. So again, as you look through this list and you think about, putting a check mark by the things that you're experiencing, if you're feeling like these symptoms are getting in the way of how you're functioning, if they're getting in the way of school or your friends or just generally life, it will be important to reach out and get help. So how do we do that? How do we help? First and foremost, it's going to be very important to talk to your parents or caretakers about these symptoms that you're experiencing. Tell them how long it's been going on for and how they're impacting your functioning. It's really important that if you feel like those symptoms that we went through are impacting your functioning, that you reach out and you get help from a mental health provider. Talking to friends about it is great, but they don't have the training to be able to give you some of the skills that you need to manage the symptoms. So, in addition to having relationships that are supportive to you, like parents and family and friends, make sure that you reach out to a mental health provider. Mental health providers can help you engage in therapy and help you understand better what's going on with your mood and how to learn skills to manage it. You can talk with your medical doctor for a referral, or you can look for referral services that might be present in your community. For example, William James College has the Interface Resource and Referral Service that can help you get connected to a mental health provider. I hope this has been helpful, and thank you.